So today, what are we going to talk about? I wanted to start with, let me just move something around. Bouncing around, okay. Sphere of influence. And I'm going to put a link in the chat to a document which I'm going to be referring to. I've already pasted it into Workplace, and so it'll be there too. For those of you that, so you can get it. And all right. And the computer always likes to slow down at certain points. Share. So this is a training, sort of a guide that I've been working on. Today has been one of those, lots of different things were happening, strange things as well as real estate things. So there's some parts of it that are a little bit of a duplication. I'm going to get rid of them at some point. If there's a document like this that I've shared, and you want not only to have a copy of it, but you want it when it gets updated. Yeah, my otter's talking to me. What you do is you go up to File, and notice there's a choice in Google Drive called Add Shortcut to Drive. Now, you could make a copy of it, and then you'd have your own copy, because I'm not letting everyone edit it, because then it would be, chaos. But if you add a shortcut to your drive, what that means is that if I add, subtract, modify this original document, when you click on that, you'll be seeing the updated version. This is also true of EXP documents that they've, that they've put on their sites. Just a little technical thing. The first thing, which some of you have seen, because I go over this oftentimes with new agents, I go over it with people thinking about joining the team, I go over it at other times, but I just wanted to put it in here so that one of the things we have to understand is, where do real estate agents really get their business? And about 40% of the time, it's somebody they already know, or a referral from somebody they know. And another 13 to 26% of the time, it's repeat business. If you look at sellers, almost 70% of all listings come from repeat and referral business. It just does. And so that's something you might want to just keep in mind, right? I'm just saying. And I've also put together a outline. I haven't been able to add, because I'm a little bit slow today, but the pictures or images. And if you're wondering, how would I get pictures or images? I'll show you how I get pictures or images. I started with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT sometimes has difficulty spelling artificial intelligence. Sometimes it doesn't. And so I had to tell it many times that you misspelled, honoring, right? Until finally I got it to produce a couple of images. Now, when I download those images, and ChatGPT 3, which is the one that's free, doesn't work as well. However, there's something called Microsoft Designer, and also Copilot, which is a free program through Microsoft. So if I go to Copilot and I am logged in and I say, make a picture to use on Memorial Day for a real estate agent, right? Because we could maybe throw in, pictures of houses and things like that. It's going to generate a picture. right? And again, sometimes it's not the right picture, and sometimes, it doesn't get the spelling right. But if your Memorial Day weekend is coming up, Memorial Day is coming up, and I've got some ideas for posts and things like that. And of them, I think I don't know. You can pick whichever one. If you don't like it, you could say make more, right? I don't like any of them. Another way, of course, to get a picture is you could go to Google Images and simply type in Memorial Day. And what you're going to see is a whole bunch of images. Now, some of you are thinking, wait a second, those images are copyrighted and they're going to come and arrest me if I use any of those images. So that's not good. I doubt they're paying that much attention. But if you go to tools and usage right and you go to Creative Commons licenses, you're going to see a bunch of images that they don't care, right? They don't care. Now, generally, these are not the best images, but there they are, and you could borrow one, let's say. The other thing you can do if you want an image to post on Memorial Day is you can wait until Memorial Day, and then EXP on their social media sites is going to post an EXP social media image about Memorial Day, which you could borrow. They're not going to get mad at you, right? You could just one of the things you could do on social media, which is the really easy button, takes very little effort, is that you go to LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and you follow or connect with EXP Realty. And when they post something that you like, you could just repost it. That takes very little effort. You could borrow it by borrowing the image and post it yourself. I've included, and a lot of this may be duplication, but I've included a document that I put together previously because it has some content that goes a little bit more. A lot of this is incorporated into the new one, but the part of this that's a little bit more specific than my most recent handout is how do you get all of your contacts together someplace, right? And so we're going to actually look at that, but I just decided I would throw in that link for those of you that really want to study it. And then a lot of times, what do I say and what kind of email should I send them and all of that. I put in a link to a script and templates and things like that that you could perhaps use to, when you're communicating with people. Now, one of the most common questions anyone's going to ask you if they know you're in real estate is how's the market, which is something you might want to, maybe prepare for. So here's a table of contents. There's a lot of stuff. Some of it, I found that I was sort of duplicating myself a little bit because I was, Frankensteining together a little bit some of the different things I've done. But I just we're going to focus on some specific things a little bit more. This is a good, even though I did it myself, outline about working with sphere of influence, which remembers where most of the business comes from. And what you find is that if you're talking to people you already know, right, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's the people you know and the people you don't know. Now, the people you don't know is the bigger group. So you want to meet those people and you want to bring them into your sphere of influence. The good news about real estate is that virtually everyone you know and everyone you meet is a potential client. Because if you were to ask, well, what percentage of the adult population is going to be interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, if not now, sometime in the future, that's pretty much everyone. So almost anything you do that puts you into contact with other humans is a way in which you can build your sphere of influence. It doesn't really matter if you're donating time at a nonprofit, if you're taking your dog to the dog park, if you're at the gym, everyone you know and everyone you meet. Now, the people you know generally has a much higher conversion rate. If you're running let's say, ads for pay-per-click ads, which is something you could do. I mention it later. If you're running ads and these are called internet leads, the conversion rate on an internet lead is less than 1%. You need a lot of them before you actually get anybody who's interested in doing something. Conversion rates on SOI is sphere of influence. Conversion rates from the people you know are much higher. Most of the time, if you're getting a referral from somebody you know, unless you blow it somehow, it's going to go through, right? Because you have a referral. There's a lower cost. Internet leads, buying leads from Zillow and all the other different sources and pay-per-click, you can spend a lot of money doing this. Like many agents target budget $500 to $1,000 a month, right? And it takes a lot of months before you start even getting your money back, if then. But sphere of influence, meeting people, following up with people that you've met, not an expensive proposition. Also, if you keep in contact with them, you can build a stronger relationship. It's not a cold call. It's not a cold lead. And may not be the best way to put it, but an advantage, particularly if you're a new agent, is that many people think all real estate agents are pretty much the same anyhow. I'm not kidding. Many people think this. And, they think, well, this isn't rocket surgery or anything like that. You're going to do an open house. You're going to put up a for sale sign, and now there are some people that are fussier than others, but a lot of people think most real estate agents are pretty much the same anyhow. So it doesn't sometimes take a big connection in order to get them to work with you. You like dogs, they like dogs. Why not let you be their agent, right? You're donating it time at a nonprofit. You're involved in something like that, and they are too, and you believe in it, and they believe in it. Why not? Why not? Right? And so the relationship is sometimes stronger than what you would get from a cold lead, because you've got some kind of a connection already. And it gives you, if you're following up with people, the ability to become knowledgeable and trustworthy. The thing you can do more than anything else, particularly if you're a new agent or even a slightly used one, that would make you stand out from other agents with more experience, is knowing what's going on in the market, knowing whether or not interest rates went up or down today. Right? Knowing whether or not inventory is going up or down, knowing what the days on market are in your area, knowing that stuff, so that when people say, how's the real estate market, and they want to have a conversation with you, you can say something useful rather than, I don't know, oh, really? Interest rates went down today. Oh, no, I hadn't heard. Well, they're like, well, you're not even paying attention. Right? I know more than you do, so you get the idea. Right, there isn't, and real estate is a simple business, but it's not necessarily easy. Right, you understand? All of the information that you need is readily available. And by the way, with the new AI, which is searching the regular internet, you could go to Copilot, you could go to Gemini, you can go to the upgraded system of ChatGPT and just ask it, how's the real estate market in San Diego? And it's going to it'll spit it out, right? Plus, you could learn to use your multiple listing service. So we're in a low inventory market, right? And a lot of times in low inventory markets, the best way to find a listing is from somebody you already know, right? The majority of sellers, this is where it comes from. Trust and familiarity. See, this is a little bit like I've already said. People and they prefer, this is a little different, when they being the National Association of Realtors, when they conduct surveys every year of buyers and sellers, and they ask them what do they want in an agent, trust, honesty rank very, very high. And so if it's somebody you know and somebody you connect with beyond real estate, it's oftentimes easier to get their trust. you have an established relationship. Cost effective, best practices, you have to be consistent. We're going to go through some sample organized systems. I can remember it was a long time ago when my perspective changed in real estate when I simply saw the title of a training program. Right? Just when I saw the title of it, I was like, whoa. And the title of that training program was Systematizing Lead Generation. And I've been in real estate a long time, and people, I mean, they would maybe farm a geographic area somewhat consistently, but the idea that they had a plan, a detailed and specific system that they were following, that wasn't as common. Most real estate agents were just out doing this and then doing that and then doing something else and then trying this and then trying that. Implementing a system is not a common thing. Systematizing how you're going to generate leads, and there are systems that you can use with the people you know, systems about how to increase the number of people you know, and systems on how to regularly communicate with them. Value addition. Now, one of the things, if you watched my videos and been to one of these things before, that you hear me harping on, ranting about, is you're going to need to come up with a list of preferred vendors. Particularly when we're doing presentations for buyers under the new regime that's coming, where you're going to have to get buyers to agree to work with you before you show them property. One of the big value adds that you can have is that contractors, flooring contractors, kitchen remodelers, landscapers, house painters, house cleaners, window washers, people that can remove garbage, all those people. Right, you have lender contacts, you have, where the escrow companies, you have all of those things that they might need when they're buying or selling a house. You already have them, and you should have already built connections with those groups. Also, when you're communicating with your sphere of influence, somebody says, well, I'm not interested in buying or selling in the foreseeable future. People will say, I'm going to die in this house. They're going to have to drag me out. By the way, when people say that to me, I always used to say, oh, really? You're going to, all right. So who's your next of kin? Let me, so, I'll know who to call then. Right. And usually they laugh. But so you could say to those people, well, I understand, selling or buying real estate is not something you do every day, not every year, not every couple of years, but I just want you to know you need insurance. Yeah, right. Right now, that would be useful to find some good insurance providers. Are you going to need to get your plumbing fixed? Do you need, whatever you might need? You want to get a cash out refi? Right, whatever you might need that's related, I just want you to know I'm a resource for you. Right, now that gives you a ability to communicate with them such that if somebody asks them, hey, do you know a good real estate agent? They might say your name. Systematic engagement. I already mentioned that. We're going to go through some examples, which is related to consistent communication. And we want to get referrals and repeat business. All right. So who is your sphere of influence? It's everyone you know. That means everyone that would recognize you. You may not even know their name, right? You may not know their name, but they would recognize you. The post person that hopefully waves at you. People that you see at stores and things like that. Mr. Pine has raised his hand. Michael?
Yes, I have a quick question for you. So in terms of getting exposure to large groups of people, I was wondering, does eXp Realty ever do like community donation events? Like we donated $1,000 to the American Heart Association and set up an eXp Realty table?
No, not
Okay.
not as a company. So you have to keep in mind that eXp charges less than any major real estate company and gives back to the agents 50% of their gross revenues. Right? So there's not what you would call a whole lot of money left over to do this. Now, it doesn't mean they don't donate for anything. But if you're thinking that they're not going to be making donations. Now, when I was at Century 21, and Century 21 is owned by a company called Anywhere Real Estate, which owns Coldwell Banker and Cochran and Sotheby's and a bunch of others. And Anywhere, the big parent company that owns all these different brands, would donate to certain groups. And we, however, as a local group, did not participate in what they were doing, but we would find our own. Because what we wanted was our branding, not their branding. Right, so what?
Nothing stopped me from partnering with EXP though, right? So say I did it myself, say I wanted to do a sponsorship and put $500 in,
Yeah,
would they allow that?
yes, first of all, they do allow it, but just, they're probably not gonna give you $500,
Got it.
right? But you might find friends that would. You know, there are allied resources that
Makes
might
a lot of sense.
also be interested in participating.
Perfect.
Yeah, but you not only can you do it, I see it all the time. Real estate agents and EXP agents where because there's another document that I didn't stick in here, but I talked about, and it's actually in the, how do you get leads? It's about hyper local. And what's far more important to you is that you're seen to be supporting the local community rather than you're part of an organization that's supporting nationally. Right, because you're not going to get as much crossover benefit from that. But if you're involved, one of the things that I believe is that for most real estate agents, if you donated time every week to a nonprofit that you believed in, that you would get more business from doing that than spending the time cold calling for sale by owners. Just saying. But yes, you could do it. We would encourage it. I'm in Morgan Hillbilly and they have a mushroom festival coming up this weekend. I get asked, and there are lots of agents that have, they're gonna have little booths and things like that, so that they can talk to people. So, one of the things to think about, and this might be a very short conversation for some of you, is what are you doing now? Do you ever mail anything to them? Have you made an effort to find everybody that you know on social media? Here, I'm going to change that to. I have to tell AI to change Twitter to Threads. Some of you will get that, some of you won't. But so have you spent time to find everyone you know? Do you have a regular email system? Do you ever send them handwritten notes or special occasion cards? Do you ever call them? Do you ever have face-to-face meetings? Now, of that group, I'm going to talk more about it later, but I might as well since I'm here. Lunch, right? Old school, let's have lunch, that sort of thing. It's time consuming. Right, it takes a lot of time, and you might want to have lunch at a place that I don't want to have lunch at, and how are we going to split the bill and all that other kind of stuff. Coffee meetings, however, that's a lot easier to arrange. Right, you can, and I found that if asking to meet somebody at the coffee shop they're used to going to, at a time they're used to going to, it was a pretty easy sell. A lot of times it was where they worked, right? There was a Pete's Coffee downstairs or something like that, let's meet there. So if you were to ask me like a system, like what would be a goal? What should I be? My answer would be to have 2 coffee appointments a day. Coffee dates, 2. If you want to know what you ought to aspire to, how about 2 a day? Now, I know for some of you, this is going to sound insane, but some of you aren't drinking enough coffee. I know, you're thinking, oh my God, there's no way I could drink more coffee. But you might want to try and make this a regular part of your system. Short, coffee, chat, that sort of thing. Consistency, provide value, engagement. You can see some of this is a little bit, a little duplication, but whatever. How do you engage? How personalized you are. Now, when we get into the database, which is coming up, and the things I cover first, if I duplicate it, I'll just not spend as much time. When we get into the database, which is at some point, you're going to need a system, which means getting everybody together and putting them in one place. And although we call that place a database, what I have found out is that most real estate agent databases, well, they lack data. Let me just put it that way. They
I have a
lack,
question.
yeah.
I'm so sorry. I
Go
can't
ahead,
find,
good.
I can't find the raise hand thing on here anymore.
That's all right. Just shout it up. I mean,
Okay,
I'm
so
happy with that.
getting back to the coffee dates, and I'm sorry, I'm delayed on this. I was trying to find the hand. Getting back to coffee dates, when we call our contacts and invite them for a coffee date, what do we say that the reason is? Just to get together and chat or touch basis or what?
Sure. So it would depend upon how often you normally talk to this person. And let's say it's somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. So I wouldn't say, hey, I want to talk to you. I got a real estate license now, and I want to talk to you about buying, selling, or investing in real estate. They're probably going to be too busy to talk with you. But if you haven't seen them in a long time and you say something like, hey, I was just sort of going through my phone and I happened to see your name and I realized it's been a long time since we talked. By the way, do you still work at, or over at, are you still in that area? Really? I'm going to be in that area on, next week. Why don't we get together and have a coffee, right? Just because I haven't talked to you in a long time. I apologize for not, not communicating with you. And I've actually done this with people. I say, do you drink coffee? They go, well, yeah. Do you ever drink coffee with someone else? Well, yeah, great. And then when you're there, it isn't for you to just say, look, I got a real estate license. I want to know, do you want to buy, sell, or invest in the future? No. Do you know anybody that wants to buy? It's not, ask them what's going on with them. Get them to talk about what's happening with them. And one of the things that you should always be thinking about with your sphere of influence is what they do, anything that you could help with. Is there any way you could refer them business? See, most real estate agents, we're just like, what do you got for me? But let's start with what do I have for them? And if you let them talk long enough, eventually, unless they're rude, they're going to ask you questions about what's going on with you. It's just,
So I have like some of my vendor list are like contractors and plumbers and window washers and house cleaners and tree trimmers. Would it be appropriate to invite them like out for coffee to get to know more about their business and
yeah.
ask to put them on my vendor list,
At
which
the
they already are.
Starbucks I go to, I see contractors that I know there all the time.
Okay.
They drink coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Conclusion, organizing your CRM. So a CRM stands for a customer relationship management system. And EXP provides a good one. Oops, provides a good one called KV Core. But by good, I mean it's feature rich. And by feature rich, I mean there's lots of dials and buttons and things like that. So if you're not good at this sort of thing, I have another video on my YouTube channel about you can tweak Google products into a relatively successful CRM. Don't let the technology get in the way of you doing stuff. All right, now, if you learn to use KV Core, you're going to be able to do more stuff because it's got more automation. And if you're struggling, make an appointment to talk to me about whatever it is, and we could fix it. In fact, if I had enough people that wanted to, we could, at a team meeting, everybody could be logged in and go through how to do something. EXP and KV Core, which is done by Inside Real Estate, lots of classes, training, videos, whatever. But at some point, you're going to want everything in one place. We know that 70% of real estate transactions come not from an initial contact with somebody, but from following up with them. 70%. The fortune is in the follow-up. You want to be able to track interactions. One of the nice things about KV Core, and they sent me a message just recently, hey, so-and-so has looked at the same property 3 times. Oh, really? That shows that they're interested. Maybe I ought to talk to them. It also allows you to segment people into buyers and sellers, past clients, investors, whatever. Because when we're personalizing our communication, we need data. So for example, if there's somebody in my database that has no children, then maybe it's not a good idea to send them back to school stuff. Because they're not interested. Right? If somebody is not a mother, maybe not Mother's Day. If somebody is Hindu, maybe I ought to send them a Diwali, but not necessarily a Christmas thing. You understand? It would make a lot more sense if we had more data. And for example, if somebody likes to golf and it's their birthday and I sent them a birthday thing that had a golf image, you get the idea. Because then it appears like I'm actually paying attention to them and not just blasting out the same thing to everybody. But this is a little more work, right? We need to be able to segment, categorize, hashtags in order that we can customize communications effectively. Also, automation and data analysis, who's opening, who's reading, who's paying attention to what I'm doing. All right. Okay. So how do we phone, email, social media, so go through your phone. Right? If you're, if you got an iPhone, then you have to, it's a few more steps, but you can download your contacts. If it's Google, it's easy because they're all in Google Contacts. If you have an Android phone, go through your email accounts. One of the goals is to get everybody together. Go through social media, all those friends you have on Facebook, close personal friends. But you obviously, I'm close to 5,000. Most of I don't know, but LinkedIn a little bit better. Go through and see who are you interacting at, who do you got there that you could add to your CRM, ask people people in your family, go to networking events and start gathering. And then I have a sample script because let's say you've got a phone number, but you don't know their email. You don't know their birthday. Now, of course, we find birthdays usually by going to Facebook, but sometimes they're not into it. I've had agents say, why would, what do I say when they say, why do you want to know my birthday? I'd say, so I could buy you a present. That's why I want to know your birthday. What do you like? And most people will tell you their birthday, not the birth date, but the birthday. So we want to know this stuff. right? We want their full name, their email address, a physical address, their phone numbers, if we, mobile is probably enough. Birthdays, anniversaries, if they've got children, social media profiles, that's just a beginning. Right, we want, the more we know, the more we can, target. And you Google, Yahoo, Outlook, iPhone, LinkedIn. Of course, the idea is these are just simple instructions. You need to get as many of them out as you can and export them. Put them together. The goal is to create a spreadsheet. Get rid of the duplicates. And then import them. And KV Core has an easy system for importing. In fact, if you haven't seen it, what I'm going to do is, and I have instructions coming up, but if you go to KV Core, which, because we're zooming and this isn't the first Zoom today, my computer's slow. They have what are called playbooks. And two of the three playbooks that they have, one of them is called Gather Your Sphere. We go here to playbooks. Gather Your Sphere. And the other one is called Work Your Sphere. And if you go to Gather Your Sphere, what they'll do is they'll either give you a template you could use to import your sphere of influence, or if you just give your spreadsheet to the KV Core gnomes, they'll do it for you and import it. And then Work Your Sphere is another playbook where it will go through and give you some things that you could do to connect with them. Right. So we want to get everything together in one place. Is that where I'm at? All right. I think that's right. It's just the same thing. Yeah. Let me close some of these because I'm a little behind. All right. All right. So this is where I am. Cool. Yeah. Put them into one place. KV Core, why not? You can tag people, right? If they like golf and you're in an area where you can put that in as a tag. You can have an unlimited number of tags. Set reminders. So that, in fact, you could even, for birthdays and others, you could even create a birthday, happy birthday thing and set it in advance so it automatically goes out. You can do that, by the way, for like Memorial Day. You can create a Memorial Day email and set a specific schedule for when it goes out to everybody. How many people do you have now in your database? If you don't have 500, and by the way, we start to see, when I go through what are the different steps of becoming good at real estate, the first is the foundation step, which is simply learning how to do stuff. The second step is concentration, which is focusing on how to generate business and leads. The third step is called pipeline. And it's from the pipeline, also sometimes referred to as a sales funnel, that we go into momentum. And momentum means that people start calling you and then business picks up. Where does that line usually, where is it drawn? When you get to about 600 contacts is when you start to get into momentum. Your goal, if you don't have, first goal is to get at least 100 contacts into your database. And if you don't know 100 people, start adding people. Get to know people. If you have less than 500, whatever you've got, try to increase it by 50% in the next 90 days. Hopefully, you can get up to 250. Like that would be a goal. 50% of 500. More than 500, we want to just keep increasing that amount. So you might spend 15 minutes a day adding new contacts. Networking events, that's longer than 15 minutes, but reaching out, following up. You might want to consider direct mail. Now, one of the things that EXP has, if you're interested in this is EXP has different systems and kits and things like that. So for example, was that the right one? No, of course not. Why would I want to find the right one right off?
I had a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when while we're building up our sphere of contacts, like when we meet people, do we ask them, can I put you, on my email list, or how does that conversation go?
Yeah,
And
you'd say
what are the
something
legalities?
like, I put together every month some information about what's happening in the real estate market, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in receiving what's going on. Are you interested in what's going on in the real estate market? Would you like to get something? And, they'll say yes or no. Now, what many real estate agents want to do is send it to them no matter what they say. But, it would be better if they said, yes, I'm interested. For example, if somebody owns a property, are you interested in finding out what your property is worth? Would you like to get updates on what the value is? You don't have to do anything, just, read your email.
Okay. And what are the legalities for sending, like, cold calling and sending emails?
So email, if you're, there's a can spam law that says if you're sending out emails, you got to give people the ability to opt out, which KV Core's automated email system already does. If it's phone calls, and I included this in one of the workplace groups, and by the way, one of the really useful, this works, it's a phone app as well as a web app, is called myexprealty.com. And if we go to tools, one of the tools is called EXP Dial Safe. And what EXP Dial Safe does is it allows you to upload a comma-separated value file of people with their phone numbers, and it'll identify if people are on the do not call list. There's no charge for you to do this. And EXP has done this because some real estate companies, who I won't name, but they were Keller Williams and Global Banker, were successfully sued because they were telling people, I'd just go do it. Who cares, right? Well, some people did. So you can, for the do not call list, EXP has made it easy for you to simply upload and see. Now, when it comes to sending a postcard, there isn't a do not mail list, right? That doesn't really exist. It's not a thing. But EXP has automated, you could create like a newsletter or a flyer or something like that, which you could send out. But let me see if I can find one. Newsletters, right? Just for fun. And if you wanted to, and you found a newsletter that you liked, there's a digital version which you could send out. There's a print version, which sometimes people, find, you might find that as a, people get a lot of emails. They might read something that you mail. Again, if you're segmenting people, and we want to put them into different categories. And one category would be people that are likely to do business with us, that are likely to refer business with us, the A category. An A plus is somebody that's actually referred people to you in the past. They're special, right? Now, you would treat them differently than an A. For example, on the birthday, somebody that's actually referred business to you might get a really nice birthday card and maybe even a present. Somebody that you believe is going to refer business to you or use you, that you have a strong connection, they might get a nice car. A B is somebody that you know, and you might post something on Facebook other than happy birthday. So for example, one of the agents that I know in Morgan Hill, who I know was, until she hurt her back, but really into rodeo, and I'm in the hillbilly area, right? Raised horses and all that. Well, on her birthday, the image that I post is a cowgirl type image. Right, it has, I mean, it reeks of it. It's not just and so she always laughs because she knows that I know and I've made an effort. Now, if they're a C, they're lucky to get a happy birthday on Facebook, right? So we don't treat necessarily everybody the same, and the group that we really are focused on, we might mail them something. We're not necessarily going to mail everybody something, but you can see EXP has a lot of things that you could mail and send out. And by the way, if you picked one, like Market Watch, right, for fun, and you can modify it. But what you also could do is you could order prints. They want me to, look at it. But what most of them will allow me to do, this one may be just a handout one, but some of the postcards, almost all the postcards and a lot of the, here, I know what I did wrong. If I go to this one, which I know is set up for a mailer, and notice my choices over here on the left, the one I had before was just not set up for mailing. So I could order prints, I could pay and they'd print them. But notice this one has a direct mail option, which means that I could, in the direct mail option, I could upload a list, pay them, and then mail it out. If I don't have a list, EXP stuff will help me create a list if I'm dealing with a geographic or a mappable area. So these are some of the options you have, and depending upon who the people are, you might put them on. And there's a postcard campaign that has all the different holidays and things like that, and it goes out automatically, right? That's the value, right? They'll print it, they'll put the postage on it, they'll send it out. So direct mail is something that we would do for special people, right? Because it's more expensive, obviously, than sending an email. Things we might be interested in are market updates, open house invitations, just listed, just sold, strategic letters. The magic letter is just something that they used to call this, where you would talk about, hey, you have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in, Rose Garden, and we have a lot of people that are interested in that type of configuration. You want to sell, things like that. Monthly, quarterly. I'm going to get into some specific systems in a minute. And here are just some examples: market update, seasonal newsletters, strategic letters. Some of this is a little duplicative. Here's social media. The idea behind social media is not to just post real estate stuff that people don't want to see. If you're posting stuff and nobody likes it, no one shares it, and no one comments on it, change what you're posting. But you could spend 10 to 15 minutes every day liking and commenting posts on your sphere of influence. That's easy, right? You don't have to come up with anything. You just connect with the people. You find the people that you care about that are in your database, and you like, share, and comment their posts. And then they'll think that you're, paying attention, and they'll like you, right? Because you're liking their stuff. I know sometimes I post things and only the guy from Chicago Title likes it. And I know that he might not even like it really, but he figures, hey, I might as well, make Mike happy. I'll say I like that joke, even though I'm not really sure he did. But you get the idea. Market updates. I've talked about how you can easily do that using RPR and using KV Core. If you're doing an open house, posting it on social media isn't likely to increase the number of people that are going to go to the open house, but it reminds your sphere of influence that you're actually doing something in real estate. One of the values of you posting a just listed or just sold on social media is people think it's your listing and your sale, and they'll think, wow, she's really a real estate agent. One of the things that I really like, and this is in my hyper local, is community events. Something that's happening in your community that they could go to. Now, how would you find community events? It's called Google. Right? Just, just type in community events you just put it in and you'll see a list. Most of them have links to the different, to where people could go to get more information. And now you're much more likely to get likes, shares, and comments if you're posting a local event that is happening in your area on social media. Much more likely than just saying, here are some remodeling tips. Video, property tours. Now, KV Core has a way of creating a property tour on a listing. And again, if you find a listing, let's say that's an EXP listing, it belongs to the same broker you do, you make a virtual tour, which you can do easily with KV Core. You stick it on social media. People think, wow, he's really got, that looks nice. He's got a listing. Right, and they'll start to, one of the things you have to do with your sphere of influence is convince them you're a real estate agent. Because they may not see you as a real estate agent. They didn't know you as a real estate agent. And all of this stuff kind of helps. Personal updates, what are you doing? What did you have for lunch? That sort of thing. Hashtags are useful if people are searching for them. And I know some real estate agents, they make funny hashtags, right? It's obviously not a hashtag that people are really searching for, but it looks like fun. But, if there's hashtags that are being used a lot, and you can use those hashtags when you post. Price reductions, again, KV Core allows you to search for that. Area statistics we've talked about, that's a little bit. So I've given you some sample quick phone scripts, text scripts that you could use, follow-up opportunities, in-person events. Ideas for events. I'm gonna go down to reviews. I want to cover one of the things. These are some other ideas. If there's people that you think might be interested, sending them a comparative market analysis, unsolicited. Right, and which you could either do through KV Core or through RPR. You could be focusing on particular niches. And I wanted to talk about targeted campaigns, right? And this is sort of an explanation, but I'm going to move to a specific, I can clean this up a little bit. But I've given you something to read. Here are some sample KV Core things that you could do. Some spending money things you could do. Daily engagement. These are 5 things that you could do every day to stay top of mind using KV Core and posting stuff. There's some more daily social media posts. So we're getting into the system. And I've mentioned this before in other classes. These are some of the ideas, holidays and things like that. Let me get to it. Here are the 4 laws of the database. So daily, you're going to want to be adding people, sending out emails, monthly, yearly, classifying everybody as either somebody you've met or haven't met. Other groups that you can put them into, are they an allied resource? Are they a vendor? And here's the systematic communication. All right, so these are some of the lead generation and lead follow-up systems. And 8x8 is a bi-weekly series. So let's say you meet somebody at a networking event. Right away, step 1, you send them a handwritten note. Why a handwritten note? Because people are not used to getting them. What if you don't know their address? Then do a text message. Hey, really great meeting. Step 2, week 2, 1 week later, you send them what we would call an item of value. An item of value would be something going on in the market or something interesting, something that they might find valuable. Week 3 is you give them a phone call. What will you say in the phone call? Well, did you get my item of value that I sent you last week? Week 4, you would send them another item of value. What would you do in week 5? You'd make a phone call. What would you talk about? Hey, did you get whatever it was I sent you last time? Week 6 is an item of value. Week 7 is another phone call. Week 8 would be an item of value. Now, in that plan, you would have called them every other week, 4 times in 8 weeks. And you would have done 4 other touches. Now, the reason we do this in a concentrated, think about this. If somebody said, name a exercise shoe, most people could think of one. Great, name a second one. You can think of a second one. Great, name a third one. It takes more thought. Now, if somebody is asked that you know a real estate agent, and they don't think of you first, they're not going to probably think of you, they're not going to make it to second, third, or fourth. You understand, we have to be top of mind. And so what the 8x8, 8-week touch program does is it brings you into their top of mind. Now, after the 8 weeks, we dial it back a little bit into what's called a 33 touch. Now, what a 33 touch would look like is you would be sending them on average 2 emails a month. What would you send them? One would be what's going on in the market, and the other one would be a holiday. There's usually a holiday every month. Some months there's 2, and some months not any. Then so 2 emails times 12 months is 24. You would want to call them every 90 days. That was mentioned earlier. If you called them every 90 days, that would be 4 phone calls a year. So we had 24 by 2 emails times 12. We add 4 phone calls, we're up to 28. What would you do after each phone call? You would send them a handwritten note, if you know where they lived, or a text message if you don't. That would be 4 more touches. We're now up to 32. But we need 33. What's the last one? Most people have a birthday. Most people do. And so the 33rd would be a birthday something or other. Now, we know from places that I've worked in the past that agents that do this over a period of time get up to close to a 10% return on their database. Now, that doesn't mean that 10% of the people in the database buy, sell, or invest with you, but they either do that or refer somebody. A 12 direct is a minimum postcard or direct mail campaign. Once a month times 12 months. Right? That's what we would call the 12 direct. So an EXP has postcards, holiday postcards, and things like that. 12 directs are oftentimes used on people that we do not know. Right, so even in a geographic farm or whatever, and I wanted people to react, I might send them a postcard once a month for 12 months. It might take more than 12 months, but the idea is to get people that I don't know to respond so that I do know them. And then remember the A, B, C, to move the C's to a B and the B's to an A and an A to an A+. Does everybody understand that? And so this is a system that you can follow. If you're saying, well, I got a lead, what do I do? Well, how about this? All right. 8 touches, 1 a week for 8 weeks. Put them on a 33 touch, which is an annual program. And the 12 direct is a direct mail campaign. And there's some examples, things you might want to use. It would be good for you to create a goal for how many people you want in your database. If you were going to, don't want to be overwhelmed, don't want to be overworked. Let's say you set a goal, you're going to add 2 people a day to your database. You're going to go meet 2 people, add them to your database every day. 2 times 5 is 10. So that would be 10 a week. Times 4 weeks is 40. So if you did that for 12 months, that would be 480 people that you would have added to your database. Remember, I said that magic starts to happen when you get around 500 or more, right? Especially when you get to 600, the momentum starts to pick up. But if you had 480 people in your database and you were using this system and you got a 10% return, which means either they would do something or refer somebody that would do something, that's 4.8, 4 to 5 transactions. Which wouldn't be a bad start, would it? And if you're doing open houses and you're collecting people and putting them into your database, and you're posting squeeze pages and landing pages, and you're adding those people to your database, and you get the idea. If you were adding 5 people a day times 10 days, 5 days a week, 5 people a day, that would be 25 that you would add every week, which would be 100 every month, which would be 1,200 people that you would have put into your database in 1 year. Now we're talking. If you did 10 a day, that would be 50 a week, that would be 200 a month, 2,400 people you'd be adding to your database every year. Right, so start with something you feel comfortable with doing, but you understand you could, the goal is to get, if you get 1,200 people into your database and you're doing a systematic program of following up with them and offering value, and you got 10, and let's say that people move every 10 years or so, that's 120 people in a 1,200 database that are moving in any 1 year, 120 people, right? 10%. And if you're not good at this, and people generally don't like you very much, and 90% of the people that you're following up with do not use you as an agent, you only get a 10% return, 10% of 100, that's 12 transactions. That's 1 a month. Think about the market you're in. How much money would you be making if you closed a transaction every month? And remember, in that, talking about momentum, if you were doing 1 transaction a month, you would be doing 2 or 3 transactions a month, because once you get business, it's a lot easier to get more business. Once you've got a listing, it's a lot easier to get more listings. When you have a buyer, it's easier to get more buyers, particularly if you did a good job and they tell their friends you did a good job. Right? It's much easier once you get into momentum. It's getting into momentum that is the challenge at first. All right.
Michael, I have a couple questions. This is Elena. My most important question or comment is that my emails have been going to people's spam folders from KB Core, and I don't know how to fix that.
First of all, in KB Core, up in the top right, there's a way for you to set it up so that it goes through Gmail rather than the KB Core email. Okay. So up here in the top right, where am I? There's a little tiny icon that looks like a mail icon, like an email icon. And notice what happens when I click on that. These 2 things pop up. One is Gmail and the other one is Outlook. So if I click on Gmail, what it's going to do is ask me which of my, and this isn't all my Gmail accounts, but what Gmail account do I want to use? And when I go through it, it's also going to ask me if I want to synchronize my contacts, which, by the way, it'll do. It dumps everybody into sphere of influence, right? It just does. So you can go through but it'll basically, everybody you've got in your contacts is going to be migrated to KV Core. It takes a little while. And if you go through and connect your Gmail account, now the emails that are coming out of KV Core come out as through your Gmail account. And the reason that it's going into your spam folder is because lots of real estate agents are using KV Core to spam people. Right. So if it comes right out of KV Core, the email providers are saying this looks like spam. And of course, if you use Outlook, you could do the same thing there. Now,
Okay,
what I do, if I have a video on, how to tweak Gmail, what I do, and there's a whole nother thing about sending text messages. Bulk text messages, you can't really send out of KV Core unless the people have opted in, which nobody has. Or you manually put them into the system, which means not importing them through the playbook, not synchronizing with your Gmail contacts. So what I do is you can export people out of KV Core. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I use KV Core more for all the other things rather than for the database. When I send you guys an email about the classes and things like that, I'm using Gmail and I'm using a program called YAMM, YAMM. And YAMM stands for yet another mail merge. And so if I'm here, let me just, if I go into Google Sheets, it worked with the Google Sheet. And I open up a Google, where's my Google Sheets? I open up a Google Sheet. This is a really expensive program too. I just want you to know, right? It costs like $58 a year. That's what it costs. Right, not $58 a month, $58 a year. So if I have a spreadsheet and I go up to my extensions, which is, it's slow. I have a few extensions, let's just say. I have obviously no social life, but one of them is YAMM, yet another mail merge, and I go to start mail merge. Now, what it will allow me to do is to import my contacts right out of Google. And I can, if they're in Google, and I have a section that says mega team, or people interested in joining the team, or buyers or sellers, or whatever, what I can do is tell YAMM I want to send an email to those people. And what I'm using to write the email is Gmail. I create a Gmail email, but it doesn't have anybody in the to. It just has the subject and it has the bulk of the email, and I can mail merge. So I could say, I could put in somebody's first name. I could put in an address of the property, whatever the fields that are across the top in the spreadsheet, I can merge tag into the email, making it very personalized. I write the email in Gmail and save it as a draft. When I go into YAMM and I import the database, which could be a spreadsheet that I have, it could be a list of Google contacts. What it will do is it'll find that draft. And if I have, I can send out 1,200 emails a day using the system. That's when Google says, stop it. But I could send out, and what it will do is it will write everybody their own individual email. It's not BCC'd or anything like that, and personalize it and send it out. Now, Google is doing a thing now where if you're sending out emails and people are flagging it as spam and marketing it as such, and you have too high of a percentage, then Google will shut you down. They'll say you're a spammer, and they'll send you warnings. So what I've done is I've created another Google account that I use for sending out the bulk emails usually, unless I know that the people want them. Because I don't want my main Google account to get, hand slapped because people are saying it's spam. But they've made it more difficult to do this. They being Google and the other major, companies. So you can improve it, but you don't want people when they get the email to click on spam. Because if too many do it, then Google will get mad at you.
Okay, so if I'm in KV Core and I'm sync my Gmail to KV Core, then it's gonna show up as from my Gmail?
Yes,
Okay, so I'll start
which is
there.
better. It improves significantly your open rate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then you also can get, I mean, if you use MailChimp or Constant Contact, all of them are concerned if people keep clicking onto the spam. Which means you have to be really careful about content. Now, I really shouldn't talk about this, but what I also do is I have a add-on, and you need to pay attention to the rules. But Bulk Texter Pro, some of you have received text messages from me in the past. I don't overdo it. But what Bulk Tester Pro does is it will take a Google spreadsheet with mobile phone numbers, and it will generate bulk text messages, sending one at a time. And basically, I set it up so every 30 seconds or so, it sends out a text message. And I don't do more than a couple hundred every day. Because again, Google, if you start sending out bulk text messages, they'll shut you down. So you have to sort of, but this is how I can send out text messages to people. Because KV Core won't send text messages unless people have opted in, which most of them have not done, or you manually put them in, which is not what you want to do because you like to just import them or synchronize them. And so this is how I get around that. But just don't say, well, I'm going to send out 5,000 of them. No, it's not going to work because Google will shut you off. And I use a Google Voice number that I don't use for my normal Google Voice numbers. Like if you talk to my office number, talk to Raw, that's actually a Google Voice number, but it's not the one I would use. The one I use is one I don't really care if Google shuts it down. Because it's not a number that I otherwise would use. And if you wanted to, like on team meetings, talk about this stuff, and I've showed some people my YAM things, and I know you'll hate me if you see my YAM statistics, but I've been using YAM for a while. I've sent out over 1 million emails. Yes, I'm one of those guys. All right, any other questions? Well, that was fun.
Michael, thank you so much. This was very helpful, like always.
Well, thank you, Monica.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you you might get the idea that I'm kind of into technology. If you want to want me to schedule something about how to do some specific things, and you sent me an email, if people, I'd be happy to focus on that. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.